Yes, yes, so Hairless here. We've seen Crazy on You, we've seen Barracuda. Quite different songs, all things considered. On both videos of them, I received a lot of requests for this one, Magic Man. It was released in 1976 on Heart's debut album. It was one of their first really big hits. Apparently, the song is about their band manager at the time, who was Ann Wilson's boyfriend.
Mama says she's worried, growing up in a hurry, yeah. Come on home, girl, Mama cried on the phone.
Oh, the structure of this song is really interesting, isn't it? Is this the chorus then? This bit? I think that's the chorus, and essentially what we've had is verse, chorus, verse, chorus. Not like two verses and then a chorus like you might expect. There seems to be an equal weighting of chorus to verse, which, I don't know, I feel like that's not a common thing. Or if this bit is the pre-chorus, well, no, because that would mean there isn't a chorus, at least not yet. So for now, I'll stick with my initial thoughts of verse, chorus, verse, chorus. And it's interesting as well, just how the song is constructed in terms of the instrumentation, rhythmically. There's not too much going on. Most of it, I think, actually is coming in the harmony. But where should we start? How about the melody? That would make sense. I think the melody has a lot of rhythmic variety with irregular rhythms, and that's really all down to the singing. Often you can get crazy rhythms and stuff like that come in the instruments because it's much easier to play something crazy when strumming a guitar, for example, than when singing, but not here. So let's go back to the beginning. We can really hear in the guitar, dum dum, and then off the two, so it's like dum dum, off, dum dum, off.
Night so long ago when I was not so strong, you know, pretty man came to me, never seen.
And now it's on the offbeats, cha, 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 cha. And then just before what I think is the chorus, listen out to the guitar, it's suddenly strummed very quickly, like that kind of effect. Just there.
Girl, he said with a smile, you don't have to love me.
And again there, and it's also syncopated now, so it's not fitting in with the exact 1, 2, 3, 4 protocol that we heard in the previous two versions of the guitar rhythms. The percussion as well, the drums, pretty consistent, fairly subtle. Occasionally we get something like, well, we just heard just before the chorus. Let's listen again. You'll have to forgive my impressions of drums, I am no beatboxer. And elsewhere in the song, I think we've heard about 1.5 minutes so far. There's not too much going on. The instrumentation is fairly contained and reserved, so I want to talk about the harmony a little bit. I have the theory knowledge, and it's what I think makes this song very interesting, especially because there's not loads going on elsewhere. So, let me start with the chords. The dum-dums in the guitar I spoke about before. It's a G chord, so that's our note G, and it's called an open fifth because if you take the fifth note above it, this is what we're hearing. It's called an open fifth because in a chord, typically, there are 3 notes. You have this middle note as well. But the middle note determines if it's major, happy sounding, or minor, sadder sounding. These two notes don't change and they fit into both the major or the minor versions of the chord. So if we don't have that in there, it's a little bit ambiguous. It could be major or minor. The first time we get unambiguous chords, again, is for the chorus.
Come on home, girl, he said with a smile.
On Come On Home Girl, that bit. So they are full chords, both major and then back to the ambiguous open fifth. The chorus is a good place to introduce these full chords. They sound like they have more conviction, they're fuller.
You don't have to love me yet, let's get high a while.
And the melody adds almost further ambiguity, because on top of that open fifth ambiguous, her melody is turning it into like a seventh chord, so it's a bit more dissonant.
But try to understand,
Try to understand, that's where things get even more interesting. Try to understand. On the first try to understand, it is clear that it's a major chord and her melody. And then they just move up one. This is the first time on G that we were talking about before, where now it's obviously a major, a happier sounding chord. It comes on the second. Try to understand. It's hopeful, positive, uplifting. She's repeating it. It's almost like she's begging. Try to understand, especially when we consider what she's talking about, you know, kind of being a young girl going out with an older guy. Her mum is saying, no, you're not ready yet. And I'll just very quickly pick out a few other moments and then we'll carry on with the song.
and I'm a magic man.
The guitar there. So again, we have that open fifth G chord. And the guitar comes straight in on creating dissonance.
Seen each other in a dream. Seemed like he knew me. He looked right through me.
So there we got these kind of magic sounding bell chimes, Mark tree, I think. The guitar line underneath is doing that. Why is that ambiguous? Well, we're in this scale. So it should be going, but no. Just all these subtle things, and her opening as well.
Cold late night so long ago.
That second note is called the supertonic because G is note number 1 and it's note number 2, causing a direct clash with it. Well, I'm sorry that was a bit of theory, but so far I think the harmony really is the most interesting thing. There's not too much going on elsewhere, so let's carry on and see what the rest of the song has in store.
Mama cried on the phone. Too soon to lose my baby, and my girl should be at home. But try to understand, try to understand, try to understand. He's a magic man, Mama. He's a magic man.
That was meant to be me guitar, by the way.
Come on home, girl, he said with a smile. I can't not spend a love on you, a woman from a child. But try to understand, try to understand. Oh, try to understand. Try to understand. He's a magic man. Oh, yeah. Ooh, he got magic hands.
Look, I wouldn't normally pause mid-guitar solo. I don't know how long this solo will be. There's another 2.5 minutes of the song. And of course, copyright is the main issue. If I just play huge portions of the song, my video will get removed. I'll get a strike and no more videos. Because of these repeated dum-dum, dum-dum chords that we're getting over and over, it's almost like a heartbeat in a way. There's something weirdly trance-like about them. I feel like I'm just becoming part of the song, and because of the structure I pointed out earlier that seemed a bit peculiar, verse chorus, now that has sort of changed. and the chorus is being thrown in there, then we might get an instrumental solo in between. Long story short, I have no idea what to expect at this point anymore, which is strange because there's not been too many new musical ideas, right? The chorus is the same, the verses are the same. The harmony, we have a little few interesting things, like I pointed out earlier, but overall the chords that we hear, they're not complicated. There aren't many of them. It's really quite repetitive, but they do implement things constantly to reduce the repetition. Like these chords coming in there, what is that? It could be a guitar. To me, it sounds a bit more like a synthesizer. There's a bit more of almost like a synthetic vibrato to the sound. It sounds a bit video game-esque. You see what I mean about the video game-esque? And I know there'll be people commenting, oh, you can't reference video games because video games came after this. Generally speaking, every time I reference something that wasn't in chronological order, people complain. Yes, I know this came first, but the music, the video game music in my head, I knew before this. So for me, that's the reference. And here we do get peculiar chord changes. Is it going to go up or down? I don't know. It's just really interesting. And then, of course, we've got the vocals going on crazy, high, belted, chesty vocalizations above. The point, try to understand, that I mentioned earlier. I was saying instead of, we now have a definitively major chord. And I was saying it's like she's begging. Well, here, even more so, right? We can all hear that. That's interesting in and of itself, but I love the sort of call and response between the voice and then the guitar coming in, and this crescendo starting quietly, like coming out of the shadows, guitar mimicking it, which takes us into the solo. So all in all, right now, I'm basically thinking, right, they have the chorus, they have the verse, the melodies. It's a long song, so if they're not introducing like new chords, new musical ideas, these kind of things, what are they going to do to keep us engaged with the song? Like I say, I find it a little bit trance-like, so it's very easy to listen to it, even though it is intrinsically a bit repetitive. I'm basically wondering, will we get more guitar solos? Will there be solos of other instruments? Will we have vocal harmonies coming in? All these kind of questions. Let's find out. Proper dissonance there. What are these? I don't know. I honestly don't think anyone, you know, on a first listen could expect what we're hearing. Who could expect this to come in? So we're getting these really dissonant guitar, these like glissandos, these slides, which naturally will cause dissonance because unlike an actual note on a keyboard, which has a set frequency, if you slide through all the frequencies, then yeah, you're going to get loads of dissonances. Then suddenly a rhythmic break. A silence, a pause. I was thinking, is that the end? The rest of the YouTube video is noise, but no, they come back in. So that's got to be a synth. I would not be surprised if this song acted in some ways as the basis for a lot of the kind of more early popular video games of the 80s. You might think me crazy for that, but as someone who has heard a lot of video game music, the resemblance in parts is uncanny, not just in terms of the instrumentation, the rhythms, the structure, but also actually certain melodic fragments. Crazy thought, but you never know. You never know. That's nice. Is this just gonna fade out? Right, the first word that comes into my head as that song finished is hectic. Quite a hectic song, very sporadic, irregular, and I've got this huge sort of contradiction in my head because on the one hand, I feel like it's quite trance-like. We just have these repeated all the way through the song, pretty much, at least for the vast majority. Then they change in the choruses, which naturally makes the choruses stand out. But we have this trance-like element that just keeps the song almost in like perpetual motion, just ticking over and over. But then on the other hand, it's the complete opposite of routine. It's just these random sections coming in, guitar solos, synth solos, harmonic changes, sudden silences, drums coming in with a bit of syncopation. The list goes on and on. So it's just this really weird blend of like trance, essentially. I'm sure over the decades, a lot of people have listened to this song when high on various substances. And then also the kind of unexpectedness, not knowing what is coming, which in my head is kind of like a dichotomy to what I've just been talking about. So yeah, it's really interesting. A very, very interesting song. Very truthfully, right now, there are some parts I really enjoyed and there are other parts I didn't enjoy so much. So I'll need to listen to it again a few times. I think you have to give songs chances. Who knows, maybe it will be a song that grows on me. I think sometimes the more standout songs or slightly strange or peculiar songs often are growers. Very interesting, really interesting. Let me know your thoughts below. If you completely disagree or hate anything I've said, comment them below. Don't abuse me, but just comment them. We are all entitled to our own thoughts. And let me know which is your favorite heart song. Right now, I definitely have one in mind of the ones I've reacted to. If you don't want to write any words, then why not leave an emoji? I think we'll go for the magic emoji like you see on the screen now. Thank you if you made it this far. Really, really appreciate it. Would also appreciate a like on the video. It helps a lot. And I will see you in the next one.